What's the good word, y'all? It's your boy DKB here. This Jets defensive coaching staff has made a name for themselves, being able to not only maximize the high-end potential guys that would get taken in the first few rounds of the draft. They've also made it a staple of how we acquire talent by being able to pick up waiver wire claims. You can take a look at Tack McKinley as a reclamation project, guys like Tony Adams, who they've developed into starters as UDFAs. And it makes sense for the Jets to go back to the well of former first-round picks that didn't pan out for their prior teams in Lewis Cine. Coming out of Georgia, he was one of the guys I was really excited about if he was going to end up falling into that second-round range for us back in the 2022 NFL draft. But as fate has it, he may land back into the New York Jets' lap. You take a look at this safety position, and it's arguably the weakest group among any position group that we have offensively or defensively, and it would help to be able to stockpile some elite athleticism, some potentially elite talent at that level, and really give a chance for Marquand Manuel, Tony Oden to get their hands on a guy like this and turn him into who many people thought he could be, right? Keep in mind, 32nd pick in the overall, 32nd pick overall in that 2022 NFL draft. He's only 2 years removed from having high expectations. We know that the NFL tends to move pretty quick, and it's not necessarily for a lack of talent. Now, I haven't been able to really catch up to everything that's been going on with the Vikings, but this was GM Kwefi Adolfo, I think the name is. This was his first pick in his role, and many people were excited about him, right? You take a look at the size he was bringing in at about 6'2", just under 200 pounds. He had 32.25-inch arms. He checked off all the physical boxes, a top 10 40 time among DBs, I believe, in that draft. And so you had a moldable piece of clay that also brought a ton of versatility, with Georgia playing him at single high, dual safety roles, and then also sliding him out to slot cornerback in certain situations to make the most of his athleticism. And unfortunately, really the broken leg, his major leg injury, his rookie year back in London, sapped a lot of the excitement around him. It happened late in the year in October, I believe. Took him a while to get back, right? Then he comes back. He's now working under Brian Flores, a new scheme that he's going to have to understand that may not necessarily play to his strengths. And I think when you look at that combination of factors, lack of ability, and then having to figure out things under a new regime, or at least a new DC who's already inserted a number of players, Cam Bynes and the likes, Harrison Smith still being there, that he doesn't have to rely on this first round pick, right? One that also he didn't necessarily choose to pick himself. You take a look at what's happened for this preseason with the Vikings as well. He's coming off of playing every snap versus the Browns, which was one of his standout games. If you look at the stat sheet, an interception, 11 tackles, got himself a sack. But if you really go in and break down that thing, it was the ultimate Ashton Davis type game where he just always happened to have been in the right place, and he happened to have made the play that you would expect any player of his caliber, to make on the ball. So not to crap on him, but we've seen what it can look like when everything is clicking, and that's without all of the mental piece being put together. But if there's anybody that can turn this around, I would definitely expect this coaching staff to, which is why we'll be so excited to pick him up off of waiver wires. The other factor would be, if the Jets did trust and love this guy enough, they could also go the trade route, which I'm hearing a day 3 pick may get it done, which would be a huge steal for a former first round pick. And then you can also easily imagine a role, right? It would essentially be Lewis Cine versus Isaiah Oliver. Do they feel like they can get more squeeze out of the juice from a guy like Lewis than Isaiah? Maybe not, at least not in the initial year, but if they give it a 2-3 year look, then maybe you can see the argument here if they wanted to go trade. But he was a special teams caliber ready guy coming out of college. You love the ferocity that he brought to the field, run presence was really one of his biggest attributes, and that is something that the New York Jets could definitely use more of. It's one of the few weaknesses that anybody will point out when they look at our defense, is that we're not overly stout. Not to say that it's necessarily a weakness in the normal sense, but if you wanted to add more ability there, this would be the route to go. And if he does get stuck into a special teams role, they did use him over the course of 7 games or so in 2023 in that element. And if this preseason was anything to speak of, with him being buried on the depth chart, you'd have to mention he's been focusing on that this offseason as well. So I would be really, really hyped to get a guy like this. Now, when it comes to the waiver wire, it's in order of the current NFL draft that we're just coming off of, which means we would have the 11th pick if we happen to have his name at the top of that list and nobody else is going next. And I believe that order remains all the way up until about week 3, and then I think is based off scheduling at that point, right? The win-loss column, strength of schedule type stuff. But let me know what you guys think. I think this is the perfect addition to the defense that you can look for, again, at a position of need here. And overall, in the grand scheme of things, it's not too much better talent you can ask for, right? Unless you had a guy like a Justin Simmons or something that happens to have fallen into your lap. But contractually, this would be a good move. Ability-wise, I think this would be a great marriage for the New York Jets. And this could potentially be your Ashton Davis replacement as the third guy, or potentially a grooming to replace a guy like Chuck Clark. Maybe switch up Tony Adams' role depending on how he performs closer to the line of scrimmage. Either way, there's a lot to envision with a guy like Lewis here. But let me know what you guys think. I'm still walking through all of the news about who may potentially hit the waiver wire, but let me know your thoughts here, and if there's anybody else that you're looking at that could be a great addition in the safety room. And I'll catch you guys again. Peace.